What is it about making a video game based on a movie so difficult? Why did so many games just end up as complete garbage? But you're asking me? I don't know. I just have to play this crap and I just want to lose my mind half the time. Now, I've talked about my displeasure with a few licensed games in the past, but I don't know if I've ever done a complete dedicated video to just terrible licensed games. So I'm going to do that now. These are my top 5 most atrocious license-based video games that I have ever had the displeasure of playing. But before we get to that, I would like to say that this video has been brought to you by Squarespace.
Oh, it's Friday night. I don't know what I'm gonna do tonight. I could sit here and pick my nose while I watch a brand new video. Whoa, Top 5 Friday tonight.
It's not often you come across a beat 'em up that's just unplayable, basically. It happens, but it's rare. Well, this is one of those games, in my opinion. I say unplayable, it is playable, but it's just not fun to play. The worst thing about the game is the hit detection. It is atrocious. It feels like you have to get in so close to the enemies, and it feels like not every punch will even land. It's just the hit detection is horrible. But it feels like they can hit you at a further distance, so it's not evenly matched. Now you start off the game with a mop. Now this mop is a long-ranged weapon. It is extremely handy. The only problem is you keep it for about 7 seconds. The first time you get hit, it goes away, and who knows when you're going to come across it again. Now the graphics aren't bad. Yeah, that's a positive, I guess, I can give this game. But the gameplay itself just ruins the entire experience. As far as the license which this game came from, obviously Toxic Avengers, never really was a huge fan of it. I've seen like the first movie and that's it, and that wasn't even when I was a kid. So while I can't put this game on the list of just the worst absolute games I've ever played in my life, I will say it's one of the worst licensed games I've ever played in my life, and it definitely gets an F, mainly for that atrocious gameplay. How do you mess up a beat 'em up? How do you mess that up? But somehow they did. One of my favorite shows in the 80s, alongside Knight Rider, was Airwolf. I absolutely was obsessed with this show. It was probably number 1. I can't tell you how many times, in fact, I got this plastic model kit because I would always build it, break it, and my dad, who went to the hobby shop all the time, loved to get model kits of his own, he'd get another one. So I probably went through like 3 or 4 of these as a kid. So this is one of the things that I have a whole hell of a lot of nostalgia for. So I loved this show. I played with the model kit constantly, but one thing I never did is I actually never played the NES game. It wasn't until I started collecting and I found it, and man, oh man, it's bad. It's so bad. Imagine if Top Gun was worse. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Well, Top Gun's not that great. It isn't that great. It's not horrible, but it's definitely not great. Well, this is a worse version of that. They took the gameplay of Top Gun, first-person shooter, and they somehow made it even more boring and monotonous. So you're going around, you're shooting a bunch of stuff, you're shooting blue dots that don't even look like missiles, and then you're going and landing the aircraft and rescuing somebody. And that's the game. That's the game. That's the game. The graphics are just unacceptable. It's on the level of like a Commodore 64, in my opinion. It's not good. And you really shouldn't have gone with this gameplay. In my opinion, if you're going to make an Airwolf game, just make it like a horizontal or vertical shooter. That would have made for such a better experience. Because these types of games on the NES, the first-person games, flight simulator games, or shooters when you're in your first person on the NES, it just doesn't really ever work. I can't think of one that I enjoy. They all kind of suck. And that's just because of the limitations with the NES hardware. It goes to show that you can only do so much. So just don't do that. And one thing that is actually somewhat okay with the game is the main theme song is at least in it, and it's an 8-bit rendition, not a great 8-bit rendition, but it is an 8-bit rendition of that amazing, super cool theme song of Airwolf. And that's really the only positive I can give the game because it blows. NES Godzilla, the first NES Godzilla game, is okay. I don't mind it. I actually like it for what it is. It's monotonous, it's repetitive, it's chaos a lot of times. It's got its flaws, but I don't mind it. I kind of like it. I rented it. I enjoyed it for what it was. But the second game, Godzilla 2, which is really kind of uncommon, hard to find. Trust me, you don't want to find it. You don't want to find it. If you see it somewhere, don't buy it because it's trash. Now, the same thing with Airwolf. The thing that really cripples this game is the direction that they wanted to take it. It's a simulator, strategy simulating game. I don't get it. Why would you do that? I actually picked this game up for really cheap in my early days of collecting. And I remember that when I played it, because I had never played it before, I was expecting something similar to the first game, and what I got was a really big heaping pile of disappointment. I could not believe that this is what they did to Godzilla. There's a lot of action in the movies, so why would you go the route of a boring ass strategy game? That just blows my mind. You're basically the army and you're trying to strategize a way to take out the giant monsters. Even the battle system, when you finally battle, it's all dependent on like this slot machine thing. Like there's no battle going on, there's no strategy, it's just luck. And whoever wins is determined by luck. Who wants to play a game like that? That sucks. No, full confession, I don't know what the hell I'm doing in it. Maybe I just am stupid. That's a real possibility. I don't think there's one person on the planet that knows what the hell to do in this game. It just makes no sense. It's a complete waste of time. It's a complete waste of money because this game goes for a whole hell of a lot right now. If you see it and you want it in your collection, you're going to be wasting your money. Spend it on something else. Get Metal Storm or something. There are some LJN games, some license-based games that, have been traditionally labeled as really bad, like Back to the Future. Honestly, Back to the Future has kind of grown on me a little bit. I can't say the same for Ghostbusters. It was bad then, it's bad now, and it's not grown on me. Well, maybe it has grown on me, the equivalent of like crotch fungus or something like that. All right, they really, really dropped the ball in this one. The fact that you have to purchase your equipment is asinine. And then you go around and you just kind of do the same thing over and over and over and over and over, and it's not fun to do this thing that you're doing over and over. That's the mark of a great game. There's a lot of games out there that have gotten a bad reputation, and in my opinion, this is justifiable. So one of the games I rented growing up was Terminator 2 on the NES. And even back then I realized that this game was just not good. It was one of the worst rentals I ever got. And even with Nintendo Power, I still couldn't get past the motorcycle stage. But this whole time I thought, man, Terminator on the NES has got to be the worst Terminator game there is. Well, I was wrong. There's a game that's much worse, and it's Terminator 2 Judgment Day on the Genesis. I've just discovered how horrible this game is because when I found it in the abandoned rental store and made the video, I had to get some gameplay footage, so I played the game. I could not believe how bad it was. I figured if it was on the level of the NES game, it would have been bad enough, and that's pretty much what I was expecting, but somehow, some way, they made it worse. They made it worse. And how is it worse on a 16-bit system? The controls are so bad. They are so bad. You're getting swarmed by enemies, but yet when you turn around, they just had to put this slow animation in the turnaround control so you can't go back and forth quickly enough to react in time to strike the enemies. You're gonna get hit and just get hit and hit and hit again. and you just get swarmed, and then it's game over. And I don't even know what the hell you're supposed to do. I guess find things, find items, but it's a test in patience, and I lose the test every time. Whenever I was playing this game, I had severe anger issues. It was legitimately irritating me because I wanted to show more of the game in the gameplay footage, but I couldn't get past like a couple of screens of the first stage. I feel so bad for the poor saps that got this for Christmas. I feel for them, and they have probably turned out to be very horrible people in life due to being traumatized like that as children. I'm convinced. So again, this is not only the worst game on my list of licensed games, but this is one of the worst games I've ever played in my life. And that's saying something because I have played a whole hell of a lot of video games. And for this to be in the top 10 of worst games, it's a new entry. But man, it's shot right to the top. Now, as I said, this video has been brought to you by Squarespace. Squarespace is an awesome set of tools that'll help you build and personalize your own website. Squarespace has a next-generation website design system called Fluid Engine. You don't have to have experience in web design. You can build an amazing, professional, and creative-looking website through Squarespace's Fluid Engine. And if you have merch, they make it so easy for you. All you have to do is just design your merch, and then they handle everything like production, inventory, and shipping. And trust me, shipping is a pain. And they have amazing analytics to help you grow your business. They show you where the visits and the sales are coming from so you can build a great marketing strategy. Go to squarespace.com to start your free trial. And then when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/gamechasers to get 10% off your first website or domain. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Now, I know that there's got to be somebody out there that likes one of the games that I listed on here. So please let me know. If you're one of the defenders of this game, I want to know your reasoning as to why. Hey, look, I get it. Nostalgia with me, bad games, some of them I like. So I get it. And if you have some bad licensed games that you want to talk about, please let me know as well. Thank you again, and have a lovely day.